So I recently played through both Resident Evil 5 and Resident Evil 6, and I have some thoughts. Resident Evil 5. Man, this is the game that turned me off gaming for 6 months. I was just not impressed with the way the zombies behaved in this. Yes, I know, infected, Las Plagas, whatever. Magini, okay. We're dealing with Chris. He is in Africa. He has a partner named Sheva. These are two people with the same zero personality. The game is infected by an unremovable grunge filter. I spent more time dealing with Sheva, trying not to have her use up all the good resources, than I did shooting zombies. There aren't really puzzles. The combat feels a little more Gears of War than Resident Evil. It's 0% scary. The music turns on whenever there's going to be conflict, and it turns off as soon as you dispatch the last foe. Your story is you have to kill Wesker again, but this time you have to punch the boulder in the volcano, and I guess he's finally finished. I immediately followed this up by starting Resident Evil 6, the Leon campaign. Now here's a guy with a little bit of personality I can get behind. This time he's paired with Helena, who could be just about any broad. Immediately, I am turned off by the lack of ability to invert sticks. But after you complete the prologue, you are finally able to go into the options and address this. Oh, and by the way, this prologue is a shitload of QTE moments. Gotta press A, gotta press X, gotta look around. Though there are certainly moments in this game where it is bogged down in you playing a cinematic cutscene, particularly put off by trying to start a car. The action in this game is really well handled. Okay, Helena seems to be nigh invincible and have infinite ammo. At least I didn't spend a ton of time managing resources. For a game that was on the Xbox 360, this being the Xbox One version, looks really quite polished on the Xbox Series X, though it certainly is not in the league of the remakes. Thank God there's no bizarre filter, and I do like the destructible zombie parts. Now, Resident Evil 6 also being co-op, and that's why I'm reviewing it alongside Resident Evil 5, this game does something no other Resident Evil does, and that is give you NPCs you can save. I came across this couple that was duking it out with a cop over by a gas station, and I was just wrapped up in their whole scenario. I mean, this guy leaves her, takes her gun, and she mans up, and I am more invested in this NPC than all of Sheva's campaign, only for her to suddenly die in a bus wreck at the start of the next chapter. But in the Cathedral, you actually have NPCs you can save. The gunplay in this game feels more on point. I don't feel like I'm having a tough time aiming at a head. Leon is incredibly capable with an array of WWE wrestling moves, and there is a roadie run style sprint. Now, look, when you combine all of these, it sounds great on paper, but maybe it takes things away from the RE experience. Being able to run through levels and you don't have any reason to ever backtrack, well, it just doesn't feel like RE to me. And I'm not even convinced I fought the late in the game boss. Maybe at times, but other points it just seemed like I did nothing and cutscene finished them. Regardless, Resident Evil 6 felt thrilling. During the campaign, Leon bumps into some familiar faces, and they have campaigns you can get into as well, which I haven't so far, but I'm going to review the game anyways, because that's how I do. Maybe this makes for some storytelling conflicts, like Chris saying, "Hey Leon, by the way, Ada Wong's dead." 10 seconds later, you see Ada Wong and you fight beside her. There is some kind of plot to RE6. You had to take down the president who became a zombie, and the virus is now spreading in the air, so avoid the blue cloud. But all told, RE6 felt like a more polished version of RE5, and we have thus far not gotten anything similar to this in the Resident Evil games, going back to a slower pace, puzzle-solving, atmospheric, scary game. And sure, that is probably for the better, but there's still room to appreciate Resident Evil 6. At least to the extent that I think it's better than it was received upon release. This was actually the game where people turned their back on the franchise, saying, well, you walk 10 feet and there's a cutscene. Now, I don't know what you're talking about, because by the middle of the campaign, I'd offed 500 zombies. Sure, the pacing is more breakneck than one would expect in a first playthrough. Flying zombies, now that I have to question. In fact, the way how zombies seem to have different variants, like they're coming after you, doesn't this kind of feel like Left 4 Dead in some ways? Maybe more so than a Resident Evil game? In conclusion, I give Resident Evil 5 a 5.0 out of 10. And I did warm up to Resident Evil 6, giving it a 7.5 out of 10.
If you appreciate a YouTube channel that doesn't just pad out content to get to the 8-minute mark so that it can hammer you with ad breaks, then you should subscribe to my son's channel. You just got done watching it.